So we've made it, the last day of the South Coast Track. Last night was pretty special. We had paddy melons come up to us as we were eating dinner. Less special was the fact that there were a lot of mosquitoes last night. My legs are covered in mosquito bites, which is not great, and tells me that this site is probably, at the time of our visit, the most mosquito infested of the campsites we've been to. This morning we'll be packing up soon and heading out. It's not a hard day today. It's first of all fairly short, and secondly, the second half of the day has been built to a tourist friendly standard, so should be fairly easy going. And then we're done. End of an epic adventure through the Tasmanian wilderness.
Last day.
We're on our final beach walk now, having cleared the headland. At the end of this beach there's some stairs, and that will take us on to the tourist-friendly part of the trail that will take us to Cockle Creek. So from now on, the hard days are over for us on the South Coast track. We're on the home stretch now, following a seemingly endless bit of boardwalk to Cockle Creek. We're really glad when we're there. So we've made it, Cockle Creek, the end of the South Coast track. So I'm back in Hobart now, and it's a day after the end of the South Coast track. I didn't talk about what I thought of day 7 at the time because I was a little bit shitty with the track and I needed a little bit of time just to calm down and have a more level head when talking about the final day. I think the first 4Ks were really fantastic. I enjoyed all of the beach walking, and that final black cliff on South Cape Bay was a really fantastic surprise. That to me was like the final, grand statement of the trail. And I found the 7Ks heading into the ending at Cockle Creek to be just a little bit boring, repetitive, continuous, and not what I expected. I think when I thought of buttongrass plains, I was expecting what we had at the start of the trail and what you see on the overland. But it didn't really look like that, and it wasn't one of those sort of open enough spaces where I could use the hiking umbrella. So a little bit annoying, and the last bit just before the end was quite rocky, so it wasn't as fast going as I wanted it to be. I just wanted to get out of there. That being said, it was a good enough day. The first part being as enjoyable as it was, offset kind of the problems I had with the last 7Ks in to the end. Cockle Creek itself was beautiful. The bay was fantastic. Bonnie, of course, went for a swim, and Mark and I had dipped our feet in the water and had a bit of a look around. A bit crazy with the all the tourists at the end. So, you know, I think it's really made me appreciate how nice it was to be out on the south coast where it was a lot less busy than that. Overall, I thought that the South Coast Track was a fantastic walk, but brutally difficult. If I had to compare it to other walks in Tassie, I'd say it's probably closer to Frenchman's in terms of difficulty. Certainly, I think in some ways, some of those days were harder than Frenchman's Cap. But compared to something like Walls, which I think is quite low effort, high reward, this is definitely, while high reward, very high effort. It's a walk that I think shouldn't be underestimated. I think a lot of people, when reading Chapman's book, have a sense of what they think a kilometre feels like based on other walks, and then second guess the times that he has listed there. But on a lot of days, we ended up walking slower. Mind you, we were filming and taking photos, so things like that add time to the experience. But I think, you know, for most people, it'd probably be on the higher end of the difficulty scale, and to allow more time is probably a wise thing to do with this walk. Of course, there will be some who are amazingly fit and can do it in, you know, faster than the 7 days time. But I think 7 days was a good sort of time frame to do it in, because you really got to take it in, appreciate every day, and have a sense of, you know, what the Southwest is all about. Because, you know, really, how often are you really going to be in a place like this? I feel, you know, philosophically, that it's best to just take it all in and experience the moment, and be in the moment of a track like this. So that's the South Coast Track and what I thought about it. So Mark and Bonnie, what do you think about this trail?
So the South Coast Track, I'd have to say that's probably one of the most challenging week-long sections I've ever done, and it was a good mix of both excellent terrain, kind of basic campsites, and also just a fantastic wilderness experience I don't really think you get many places in the world. And if you have the fitness and the means of getting out here and all the gear, then I definitely recommend. For more information, check out the Life of Pi blog. And thanks to Donovan for having me on his video.
I found the South Coast Track very rewarding and also very challenging. I think one of the hardest trails that I've ever done, because for most of the way it's kind of like an obstacle course. So almost like doing an off-track hike in a way, because you have to be really focused on the trail itself. And I really like that kind of walking, even though a lot of the time in the moment, like some days I was suffering a bit. Like one of the days I was sick, and one of the days there was lots and lots of mud, which is kind of uncomfortable, but also sort of fun. I really liked all the campsites, were beautiful and a wonderful place to rest and go for a swim. Yeah, definitely worth doing.
One last thing I forgot to mention. I am something of a patch collector, as you can see here. Got a few of the hikes I've done. Cool thing about this is if you fly Pi Avion, they sell patches for the South Coast Track. So if that's something that you're into, this is a pretty cool patch and well worth getting.